moving averages end, we were doing 5-day, right? So we do days 1 through 5, we take the average, and then 2 through 6, 3 through 7, 4 through 8, 5 through 9, and 6 through 10. And we stop when we get to the 10th day. And so you can see the average is moving. Does that make sense now? Okay, and so to do the average, if I look at the first one, I'm doing the first 5 days. So I'm doing those 5. So, oh, wrong pen. So 3502 plus 3501 plus 3465 plus 3609 plus 3532. And since I added 5 numbers, I divide by 5. And that gives me the 3522. And then for the next 5, I do these. And so I'm just going to write add days 2 through 6, divide it by 5, and you'll get 3531. Okay. Then for the next set, I move through those. So we're going to add days 3 through 7. I'm going to divide it by 5, and I get 3532. Then I'm going to do days 4 through 8. Divide by 5, and that gives me 3555. Then I do days 5 through 9. Which gives me 3574. And then lastly, I will add days 6 through 10. So what color can I use? 6 through 10. And divide that by 5. And that gives me 3589. Now, the reason we do this is because it went down, it went down, it went up, it went down, it went up, it went down, it went up, up, down. It's a bunch of zigzags, right? But if we look at the simple moving average, it's a continual upswing. So it gives us the pattern. The stock is actually, like the daily changes are going to happen a lot. But the general upswing, I mean, it's a general upswing on the stock. So the stock is gaining value overall. Okay, now this is the most straightforward way to do it. Just add the 5 days, or you might have a 3-day average, so you'd add 3 days and divide by 3. You could have a 4-day average. It'll tell you. Add those many days, divide by that number. Then add the next group, divide by the number. There's another method if you would like to use it. So I will show it to you. Okay, remember we had done the graph to show what it was like. So it's called the subtraction and addition method. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm doing a 4-day SMA on this one. So I do days 1 through 4. So well, first of all, I need to see how many days I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Okay, so I'm going to do days 1 through 4, 2 through 6, and 3 through 7. Wait a minute. 1 through 4, 2 through 5. Sorry about that. 2 through 5, 3 through 6, and then 4 through 7. Okay, so I'm going to need to do 4 averages. Okay, and the way I had done it in the past is I would add up the 4 and divide by 4, then add up the next 4, divide by 4. Well, this one's called the addition subtraction method, and you may like it better, you may not. So what you do is you start with the first day. So I'm going to add the first 4 days and divide by 4. So I get 121 plus 122 plus 120 plus 119, and I divide by 4. And that's going to give me 120.5. Okay. Now, step 2 is where you start doing something differently. I'm going to take my answer from here. I'm going to subtract day 1 divided by 4, and then I'm going to add day 5 divided by 4. So I'm taking out day 1 and I'm putting day 5 in that way. So what I will get is I will get 120.5 minus, well, I'm going to take the answer and I'm going to take out day 1, so that's 121 over 4, and then plus day 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 124 divided by 4. 121 divided by 4 is a decimal. So 30.25. So that's 120.5 minus 30. Was that 25? Yeah, 25. Plus, and then I do 124 divided by 4. Oops. Plus 31. And when I do that, I take that 120.5, I take out day 1, I put in day 5, and that gives me 121.25. And then for the third step, I'm going to take the answer and I'm going to subtract day 2. And I'm going to add day 6. So that gives me 121.25 minus 122 over 4, that's day 2, plus 128 over 4, that's day 6. So again, that 122 divided by 4 is 30.5. Wait, that can't be right. Did I type that wrong the last time? Oh, 30.5, 30.25, that's what it was. And then 128 divided by 4 is 32. And then fourth one, we're going to take the answer and we're going to subtract day 3 divided by 4, and we're going to add day 7 divided by 4. And the reason you're thinking, why on earth would we do this? This is more complicated. The reason we do this is because it's less adding, I guess. So 120 divided by 4 is 30. I could have done that in my head. 126 divided by 4 is 31.5. And the answer that you'll get for that is 124.25. Now, for our purposes, I do not care what method you use. You can use add the 5 days or divide by it, then add the next group, divide by, however many, that's fine. Or you can use this method. There's just 2 different ways to do it. And pick the one you like best. And then you get these things called crossovers that occur. So investors are going to construct stock charts that depict moving averages for 2 different intervals, like 2 different time intervals. You'll have a fast moving average, which is a shorter time interval. Okay, so it's a smaller. Okay, so we had, in the last 2 examples, we had a 5-day and a 4-day. The 4-day would have been the fast one. And then the slow moving average is a longer time interval. So it's the larger number, SMA. Okay. So they take these two time intervals, right? They might compare a 3-day and a 5-day, or a 5-day and a 10-day, but they make these comparisons. They chart them. They graph them on the same axes so that they're together, so that you can look at the picture and you're seeing both of them at the same time and you can compare. And what occurs is a crossover. Okay, so the crossover occurs when the fast moving. Here, I'm going to write first and then I'll talk. All right, so they graph the slow moving and the fast moving on the same graph. And the crossover happens when the two lines cross each other and trade places. So maybe one's on top and then they cross and the other one's on top now. And what that does is it signals that a stock trend reversal could occur. Now the word could is very important. This is not 100%, right? Because the stock market is, the prices and the stock trends are influenced by people trading stock. And people are not 100% predictable in what they'll do. So you could get a crossover occurring on your graph. It could indicate that there's a stock trend reversal, but it's not guaranteed. But analysts use that to decide if it's a good time to buy or sell. So what happens is the theory is if you're fast moving, so overtakes the slow, so it moves to the top. That's when you consider buying. Because that indicates that the stock trend is reversing, but that the reversal is going to make the stock go up. And then if the fast moving falls below the slow, that's when you consider selling. Because that could be an indication that the stock price is about to drop. All right, so this is what this looks like. Okay, we have a 5-day moving average and a 10-day moving average. Okay, you don't have to draw this, but if you want to, you can. So the 5-day is the fast, and the 10-day is the slow. The crossover happened right here. Okay, and what happened is the fast is the green line, and it overtook the slow line. Okay, so what that is indicating is that this would have been a good time to start buying, because the trend is that the stock is going to start going up. Now, usually when an analyst is looking at this data, they're looking. They see the crossover, they start buying that day. And then as you can see, it did go up. Here's another crossover. And here's another crossover. So here, buy, sell, buy. Do you see that? I'm just going to talk about it. We have information systems that track the performance of stocks. Dow Jones Industrial Average, called the Dow. That's what people usually call it, the Dow. The Dow said this, the Dow that, the Dow went up, the Dow went down. It tracks the daily trading of 30 corporations, 30 major corporations. And the trends of those 30 major corporations, when they'll say the Dow closed today at whatever. That's the average of all 30. Okay. It's all done on computers now, but in the old days, the first stock transmission information machine was invented by Thomas Edison. It was called the Universal Stock Ticker. It printed 1 character per second on a strip of paper, like a sort of like a ribbon, little skinny paper, and someone would stand there and read it as it goes. They were connected through telegraph wires, and the reason it was called a ticker is because it would print 1 character per minute, and it made a ticking sound as it goes. You know, it's like a typewriter, tick, 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 tick. They still call it a ticker, but it's no longer a piece of paper getting typed on by a telegraph machine. It's now done over a computer. Billboard. Okay. In Times Square, you know how they have big screens in Times Square? A lot of times the stock market will be running along the bottom of it. You'll see it on like certain financial news programs. It's just running along the bottom of the screen. They have billboards that run, you know, or you go on the computer and it'll run on the bottom of the computer, and it portrays information about stocks. And when you look at it, let's do that real quick. These are letters that are used to represent companies. So the stock symbol or ticker symbol is a letter or letters used to identify the corporation. Now, tickers occur in real time. So every single trade gets put onto a ticker. So if I go and I buy 7 shares of Microsoft, that'll show up on a ticker that 7 shares have been purchased. The New York Stock Exchange has 1, 2, or 3. So remember we had seen Bank of America was BAC? That would be the ticker symbol that would show up on the ticker, BAC. Okay, the other thing that shows up on the ticker is the trading volume, which is the number of shares that were traded in a single transaction. So one person making the trade. They use a shorthand, K for thousands, M for million, B for billions, but you don't usually see a B because who's out there buying billions of shares of stock at one time? You know, it's not very often seen. The trading price is the price per share, and it's usually preceded by the at symbol, and precede means the at comes before. So it'll be like BAC 4K at 23.50. So that means 4,000 shares of Bank of America sold at $23.50 each. But the at is not always in there. Depends on the ticker company or, you know, who's putting it out. And then directional arrows. We get the stock symbol, we get a trading volume, we get the trading price, and then we get a directional arrow that tells us if it's higher or lower than the previous day's close. So Bank of America, so BAC 4K at 23.50, up arrow 425. So that would mean that it sold at $23.50, which was up $4.25 from the previous day. Okay, so there's this girl Marcy, and she's following stock market ticker, and you don't really need to know all that, but this is what you want to write down. Just this ticker right here, the highlighted part. So she's watching it scroll across the bottom of her TV screen, and she has bought Visa, and so she wants to see if there's any current trades, to see if her stock is going up or down or how it's doing. And so she sees this. V12K at 87.37, up arrow 0.12. So what does she learn? She learns that Visa trade occurred. Does it have 1 R or 2? Thank you. Okay. there were 12,000 shares traded. And they traded for $87.37 each. And that was up from yesterday. 1,000. It looks like thous and then and, doesn't it? 1,000. That's up from yesterday by 12 cents. Tom needs to go to graduate school. So what I would like you guys to write down is 3,000 shares of Coca-Cola, price, close. Okay. All right, so he wants to sell his shares of Coca-Cola because he needs to have money for graduate school. You got to pay that tuition. So he wants to sell all 3,000 of his shares, and so we want to create what the ticker would look like. Okay. So it's the first is the letters, followed by 3K for 3,000. He wants to sell them at $57. And because it closed at $57.25 yesterday, are we up or down? We're down. So we're down arrow, and we're down by 0.25. So that's the Coke. This is the 3,000. This is the money. And this is the difference. So when we do the total value, we're taking the number of shares and we're multiplying it by the price per share. So Tony purchased 15,000 shares of stock of Target at $54.88 per ticker. I don't know why I wrote that. Okay, her trade appears on the stock market ticker. There it is. Target 15,000 at $54.88. It's down 17 cents, but we want to know what is the total value of her trade. So we're going to take that 15,000. We're going to multiply it by 54.88. I didn't line that up right. And we're probably not going to do that in our heads, but we'll just pretend that I did that in my head real fast. So the total value of her trade was $823,200. Okay, so we'd figure out the value of their trade. We'd take that $87.50 and we'd multiply it by 190.30. So I'm going to do that real quick. Whoops. 8750 times 190.3. 1665125. $1,665,125. Grandpa Rich, yeah, see? It's nice in here. They offer trade-to-trade information. The tick is a word that's used when there's a change in the price of a share from one trade to the next. I bet you can't guess what an uptick is. When the price is higher. Yeah. And then a downtick happens when the price is lower than previous. Okay. Money flow is a type of market analysis. Okay, so that's just analyzing the stock market. It analyzes ticks. So ups and downs. That's all it does. It analyzes upticks, downtick, uptick, downtick. Or up, down, however it goes. Positive money flow is happening if you're purchasing on an uptick. And negative money flow is happening if you're purchasing on a downtick. All right, daily money flow, it's calculated. Okay, so the way they calculate the daily money flow, they take the high and the low and the close, they add them together and divide by 3. That's the average. And then they multiply it by the volume. So we have high plus low plus close divided by 3 times volume. That would be your formula for that. Okay. Now that gives us a net money flow. And the net money flow, if it's positive, that means that investors were willing to pay a price above market. So investors are willing to pay more. So more purchases on upticks. And if it's negative, okay, so if the less investors or investors are less willing to pay for the stock, that means that more shares are bought on the downtick. And that's a negative money flow. All right, we've got Laura, and she's interested in Microsoft. She's been following the upticks and downticks for 2 days. She knows that it closed on Tuesday at 2068 with a high of 2125 and a low of 2050. And there were 11,902 shares traded that day. So what we need to get from this problem is Tuesday close, high, low, volume. Okay. And then we have Monday close. Is that too dark? Can you guys read through it? Okay. High, low, volume. And we want to know is what the net money flow from Monday to Tuesday. Is that positive or negative? So remember I told you that the formula was, wrong pen. High plus low plus close divided by 3 times the volume. Okay, so we're going to find out Mondays. So we're going to take 21.23 plus 21.30 plus 19.95 and divide that by 3. And whatever we get, we're going to multiply it by, where's Monday's volume? Ah, right here. 16,537,000. Okay. So let's do that. So 2123 plus 2130 plus 1995 divided by 3. Okay, so that's the average right there. Times 16537,000. Okay, so is that what I have written down? Oh. Okay, 344, 3 4s, 105. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and forth. Okay. So the money flow on Monday was 344 million, roughly. And then we do Tuesday, and we get 2068 plus 2125 plus 2050. Divide that by 3. Multiply that by our volume, which is 11,902,000. So 20.68 plus 21.25 plus 20.5 times, divided by 3. So 2081 is our average. And we're going to do that times 11,902,000. Darn it. It's 2081 times 11,902,000. Okay, so this is Tuesday. This is Monday. What's my money flow? My net money flow. Is negative. Because Tuesday's less than Monday. So my money flow is negative because I'm going down.